Track 34.
I can't give you a tour now, I'm afraid. I have to stay here at the help desk, but I can show you places on this map of the library.
That would be helpful, thanks.
OK, so we're here at the help desk, next to the service desk, where you go to borrow and return books. The maximum number of books you can borrow at any one time is 10.
Yes, I see.
Opposite the service desk is the training room, which is used by library staff to give demonstrations of the computer systems to staff and students. But the entrance is round the other side.
Is the training room beside the quiet room?
Yes, that's right, with the entrance round the front too. It's important to remember that all mobile phones must be switched off in this room.
Of course. And what about books? Where can I find the books for my course?
Good question. You're studying geography, so if you walk past the service desk, turn left and continue on past the philosophy section, you'll find the geography section. The copying facilities are on the left. Now, one more important thing is the group study room and the booking system. If you're working on a project with other students and you want to discuss things with each other, you can go to the room in the corner at the opposite end of the library from the copiers. That's the group study room. It's between the sociology section and the TV room. The group study room must be booked 48 hours in advance.
Right, thanks. Can I keep this map?
Actually, this is the last one I have, but I can make a copy for you.
That would be great, thanks.
Oh, I should also explain how you book the group study room.
Oh, yes. So how do I do that?
You can only book this room using the online reservation system, the same one you use to reserve books that are currently on loan.
I thought it was called the online catalogue system.
No, that's for searching for things in the library. The reservation system is what you use to make a room booking.
And can I access that from outside the library?
Yes, via the library website. You will need to enter the name and student number of each student in the group too, so make sure you have these to hand when you make the booking. But all this is explained on the homepage of the website. Once you've made your reservation request, you'll receive a confirmation email from the library to say whether your booking has been successful or not. If not, you can try to arrange another time.
Well, that sounds fairly easy.
Yes, you'll be fine. It's all quite straightforward, really.
Thanks.
Track 35. Now, not only do we have lots of historical architecture here in the town of Tanbridge, we also have a rich variety of famous residents. Of course, everyone has heard of the famous writers Jim Harman, Anna Collins and Ian Cheriton, or I.H. Cheriton as he is better known. And they have all lived in our small town. In fact, Anna Collins, the celebrated romance novelist, spent all her life in this town. She lived by the town square, where there is a plaque to commemorate her. She died in 1968, and you can see her gravestone in Tanbridge Cemetery. You may know Anna from her most famous work, The Pride of Angels, which won numerous awards and for which she was a runner-up for the Herald Prize in 1950. James Harman also lived here between 1975 and 1990. A best-selling horror writer, he got many of his themes for his haunting novels from this very town. He passed away a year after leaving Tanbridge, and although he isn't buried in the town, we do have a statue of him on the roundabout as you enter the town. Now, I.H. Cheriton has been the Poet Laureate for 3 years, and he lives in Tanbridge today. His home is the Red House by the river. Not only a poet, he has also written 10 novels that have topped the book sales charts. He always does a lot of work for local charities and is quite a gem in this town. Lastly, another famous resident of Tanbridge is Sylvia Daniels. She grew up in Tanbridge and went to the local comprehensive here. You can see her childhood home just across the river by the post office. Now, I am sure you all know her for her latest film, Planet Dust, which has just reached #1 at the cinema box office. But she wasn't always an actress. Before she headed for Hollywood, you could have seen her waiting tables in the Dorridge restaurant here in town. She often comes back to visit, as her family all still live here. If you're lucky, you may even catch a glimpse of her. Track 36.
Welcome to the latest episode of Film Finest with me, Liz O'Donnell. The films I'll be reviewing in this episode are What Happens in the Night, the new horror film by acclaimed director Jan de Nijberg, and Happy as Larry, a new romance comedy starring Harrison Wyatt and Sonia Smith. Let's start with What Happens in the Night. Set in a convent school in the 1950s, this film tells the story of two boys who are haunted by apparitions of monks. The film has the feel of a comic book, as it's shot in black and white with occasional shots of vivid color. De Nijberg, the director, said he wanted some elements to stand out, and he has used color to do it. I would say quite effectively. He claims his inspiration for the film is his own experiences growing up in 1950s Liverpool. A believer in ghosts himself, he thought he saw ghosts in his school years. Ghosts or not, this film is certainly haunting. What Happens in the Night is a film that will scare you. I wouldn't say it's the best horror film to come out this year, but it's certainly shot beautifully. And it's not hard to follow. So, unlike some recent horror films, you don't have to sit in dedicated concentration for 2 hours trying to keep up with a complex plot. An enjoyable film. I would give it 4 stars. In Happy as Larry, Sonia Smith and Harrison Wyatt play two people who fall in love but cannot be together because of their families. The build-up to the film has certainly been epic, with gossip about both co-stars in the papers. Rumor has it that Smith and Wyatt aren't the best of friends. In fact, on the set, they barely spoke to each other. I have to say, though, this doesn't come across in the film, and they look like a great couple. Happy as Larry is a move away from the usual films Sonia makes. She is better known for her roles in action films, but she has shown herself to be a capable comedy actress. However, I'm not sure this is the finest film to do it in. Both men and women alike can get something from this film, but the romance angle is overplayed, and the laughs are few and far between. If you want romance, this film is fine, but if you want comedy, I would recommend seeing something else. I would give it 3 stars. Now, there are some new video releases which are gonna be coming out in the next month.
Track 37. So, we have Phyllis Bailey here to talk to us about Fame. Her new book, Famous for 15 Minutes, is coming out on Monday. So, Phyllis, welcome. What do you think fame means to us these days?
Well, famous people are everywhere, and although we know nearly all there is to know about these people, their lives are splashed all over magazines and television, they've retained their mystery. The public are always eager to find out more about them, and this fuels the paparazzi to photograph them. It's true that there are more celebrities around than ever before, but the number of really important famous people probably hasn't changed greatly. This is because people became famous for only a short time. Andy Warhol once famously said, "In the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes." And I think there's some truth in that. One day a person is famous, and the next they are forgotten. Take, for example, contestants on reality television shows. After maybe 6 months, we never see them again. This also highlights another characteristic of fame. In the past, people became famous because of something they had done, or because of their talent. Nowadays, these things aren't necessary. I personally think this is a great pity.
Is fame particularly beneficial now?
Well, let's look at the winners and losers when it comes to fame. Many people think that celebrities are the losers in this new media world, but that isn't necessarily the case. Take, for example, actors and actresses. They often complain about a lack of privacy, but privacy is possible. There are many celebrities who aren't constantly in the papers. Much as they complain, they chase the publicity and then blame it on the media. In fact, the paparazzi, who photograph the rich and famous, are often seen as figures of hate for this. They come off much worse in the end because they are so disliked by the public and celebrities. But in reality, they are making the celebrities and their managers even richer. In fact, because of the cult of fame nowadays, we can see media executives making even more money and celebrities signing multi-million-pound deals. And who pays for this? Well, all of us. Cinema and concert ticket prices have risen and DVDs cost more than ever. Merchandising makes a fortune for the famous these days, and although we are paying for it, the rewards go to only a small elite. The big players, the stars and the executives, but they miss a lot of the creative talent in the industry, like the people who write the screenplays. They are still on the same salary they were on 10 years ago. Executives certainly have a difficult job managing their clients, but they get rewarded well for doing so. I, for one, think these rewards should be more fairly spread.
How could this be done, are you suggesting?
Track 38.
Thank you for coming along to the Cultural Sydney talk. I'm going to start by telling you about the Yellow Plaque Scheme, which has been running in Sydney for over 40 years and has been incredibly successful. When you're walking around the city, you'll see some buildings with a small round yellow plaque on them. If you take a closer look, you'll see the name and details of a famous person who lived in that very place. We have at present 130 plaques up in the city. The scheme has been great for tourism, but it was really started to raise awareness of the rich history of Sydney, both locally and nationally. And we think we've managed to do this. We also wanted to make people aware of the impressive list of important people who have lived in this city, and we've certainly achieved that. But that's not all. Although not part of our original aims, the scheme has also helped preserve some of the older and more important buildings in Sydney, because people now know that these buildings are a link to our past. Some of the buildings are actually over 180 years old, which for Australia is ancient. We actually think that this is where the scheme has achieved the most success, in raising the profile of our rich history. Of course, it has helped tourism, but not only that, locals also walk around looking at the plaques. It has been really wonderful in highlighting our past. Some people are quite surprised to see who has lived here. Take Errol Flynn, for example. He was married in Sydney. We are planning on putting more plaques up, and a common question is how can people nominate a figure to be put on a plaque? It's quite a simple process. Applications can be downloaded from our website. If you want to nominate someone for a plaque, you just need the person's name, where they lived, and you need 3 signatures to approve your application. Our panel then checks that all the data you've submitted is correct, and hopefully, within a year, a new plaque will be erected. But you can't nominate just anyone. A plaque can only be given to a person who is famous and has achieved something out of the ordinary, like an important politician or world record-breaking sportsman, for example. We aim to have 50 new plaques up within the next 3 years, and we have plenty of funding to do so. Our funding comes from 3 sources: the local council, community donations, and the Tourist Board. Whereas in the past, the Tourist Board put in the majority of funding, now public donations count for 65% of all total funds. In fact, our funding is so healthy now, there are plans to expand the scheme. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you will have 20 seconds to look at questions 7 to 10.
Track 39.
At the moment, we only have yellow plaques for all the famous people, but we are aiming to produce different coloured plaques so that people can do specific walks. For example, if they are interested in famous sports personalities, they can do a tour following the red plaques, the colour we are aiming to use for these people. We are looking at introducing grey, white and green plaques as well. We are thinking of using grey plaques to signify people who have done important work within the government, and white plaques for those who have done good works in the community. Lastly, our green plaques we think will be very popular. These will be for painters and sculptors, leaving our yellow ones for writers, actors and other people of note. We do hope you enjoy looking at the plaques around the city. We have guidebooks on sale in the gift shop where you can find all the plaques. These are priced at $11.99. That is the end of section 2. In the exam, you will have half a minute to check your answers.